Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Movies Are Life, the podcast where we believe the stories we see on screen shape the stories we tell ourselves. I'm your host, Nathan Chandler, and today's episode is a special one. It's pretty fun getting to talk to directors of films. It's something I never thought I'd get to do, and this one was really cool because I had a chance to watch the newly restored version of the 2005 documentary Commune, and let me tell you, I haven't stopped thinking about it since. It's one of those films that makes you reflect on where we are as a culture and maybe even what we've lost. This film, it tells the story of Black Bear Ranch, a radical real-life commune founded in 1968 by a group of dreamers and funded by, of all people, the Doors, the Monkees, and Frank Zappa. This wasn't a cult at all. It was something more idealistic, more chaotic, and more human more than anything. Their motto was free land for free people, and it was all about rejecting the status quo and imagining a new way to live together. It's super cool, but I got to speak with Jonathan, the director of this documentary, about this film. He's been making documentary films for a really long time, and he brings such a curiosity, empathy, and a whole lot of honesty to his work. And you can really feel it in this documentary, Commune. And so I really hope you enjoy this conversation. I had a great time visiting with him about this film. Jonathan, I'm so glad you're here. I've been sitting with the documentary in my mind for a while, just because I just really liked it, and kind of especially I wasn't alive during that time. I've always been fascinated with 60s and 70s culture, and so I really enjoyed this sneak peek. And so I just thank you so much for taking the time to chat about it today.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Hey, anytime I have a film out that's playing in theaters, you got me.
That's awesome. Well, just this is a re-release of your film, but I did want to ask you, what first drew you to the story of Black Bear Ranch, and when was there a moment when you knew that this like had to be your next film?
I think I was drawn to it because I mean, it encapsulated all the stuff I grew up on. I wasn't around exactly for this time either, not quite that old, but they were kind of the age of, say, my, you know, older sisters or uncles or aunts. Maybe not my uncles and aunts, but so all the stuff that they talk about and they were interested in and that's in the film was not all of it actually. Some of it is what I grew up with, counterculture values
Mhm.
and beliefs and Abby Hoffman and obvious counterculture people like that. If you don't know who that is, look them up, guys. But other counterculture heroes for me, like Groucho Marx and Bugs Bunny. So there
Right
was
there.
that, and there was all the rock music, and I was playing the music, and there was also psychedelics, although Black Bear itself wasn't particularly about that. And when people see the film, they'll see it's not exactly hippie, but it's counterculture. I think that's a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah, kind of jumping to that. Yeah, I thought that was one thing that I was real interested in because I don't think this isn't a cult, and so I just how did you approach telling this story without falling into that cliche or romanticizing the lifestyle? I thought this was a really it was a really good, even though you could tell that you're fascinated with it. I felt like it was a real neutral way of showcasing this community.
Well, Nathan, I wouldn't say neutral exactly. I would say fair.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if neutrality exists. This is me speaking as a film professor, which I have been at Cal State San Marcos for 20 years, which has been wonderful. And still doing it for a few more years. So, yeah, I mean, it's easily a trap to just glorify the whole thing. But I think that the people we lucked out, or it was a connection there that was great because they're really smart people and they had already somebody from Black Bear, Don Monkrud, edited a book where everybody wrote a few pages of it. And so therefore I got we got, because it was Christian Ettinger, co-producer, and I got a good sense of like the wild and craziness of this place. So we had a good template. I see that you like fiction films, as do I, as well as documentaries. And a lot of times they're better off when they start from another source. At least that's the prevailing wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what I meant by that kind of neutral, I enjoyed how you were letting the residents of this community speak on it, and not so much, I guess, throwing your voice into it, as far as like, letting them tell their stories. I really got a sense of it from them versus, there's documentaries out there sometimes where you are feeling really feeling the director behind the screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that half of every work is the author, and I suppose I'm the author here because, we had 50 people at Black Bear who we filmed with, maybe something like that, and then we narrowed it down to those seven. So that's a huge editorial moment right there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because that was something I was, not that I've ever done anything to your scale, but I understand, you want to interview so many subjects because you want to get a good sense of what the story is about. But what was it like tracking down so many of these former residents and then really trying to figure out who really was going to be featured in this film?
Well, it was pretty wild. For example, this doesn't appear in the film. Only your podcast listeners will know. At one point, there was Black Bear Ranch, okay, the commune that we focus upon, only one in the film Commune, was very anarchistic. Okay, so in that probably the best sense of that word, not like just confusion, but just like do your own thing, don't hurt anyone else, kind of anarchy. And at one point, though, there was a group of Black African American militants who came to Black Bear because it was billed as free land for free people, money raised from rock stars and
Mhm.
other people like that. And so they were practicing uh, weapons fire and preparing for the oncoming revolution at the ranch. And meanwhile, there were little kids running around. I mean, it's big enough that they had their own area, but still, it was unsettling people. And so I thought, well, this has to be in the film. This is great. And I tracked down one of the extant people who was participating in that. And we came to his, he said, okay, I'll do it. We came to his house somewhere in the Bay Area, one of those kind of ranch houses that they have out there. And just he was sealed up tight. He just didn't come out. He wouldn't come out for it. So you could only try. You could only go for it and see what happens, right?
Right.
But
Uh,
but that would have been cool. But it's hard to contain the multitude of ideas of the 1960s,
mm,
in 80 minutes. And I love film noir. You probably do too. All film geeks love film noir, right?
right.
And those films are always like 80 minutes, maybe a Double Indemnity might be longer or something major like that. But there's something to be said for keeping it short and sweet. So in that, yeah, let's say 90 minutes or less time frame that I wanted, can only get into so many ideas, and some of them are skirted upon, and a couple I would extend a little bit possibly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think in this day of streaming, so many quote unquote documentaries have now become like mini series. There are multiple episodes, and I think there's a time and place for that. But I did enjoy just the succinct storytelling here, and sometimes, yeah, you may have some kind of lingering questions, or I wonder, but I think that's almost like a sense of a good film is that it's kind of it's wanting you to learn more and kind of dive into that culture a little bit more on your own. I was gonna ask you, the archival footage here is incredible, and so how did you gain access to so many materials? Was it through the interview subjects, or how did you gain access to that?
Yeah, it's a great question because it really follows the path of 60s life. No internet. The internet wasn't invented. It was, they were still like working over there ARPA and all those places with computers, very early computers. So we found out about a lot of stuff by word of mouth, you know.
Mm.
So some of the best footage came from, I wish I could remember, find his name. I have it somewhere on the original tapes, but we had material from Portapak Video. It was one of the first forms of portable video. So some of the younger people who are working at networks went off and started using that, and they formed things like the Video Freaks in upstate New York and DCTV, where we just screened in New York City, still going. So Elsa was like, "Oh, you should find this guy. He was filming on early video." And he was going around to different communes and using it as a kind of Pony Express where we would send messages to our friends at communes in Colorado or Southern California or whatever. And so I did find them. The tapes were rotting. They were rotting away
Oh,
in
wow.
the basement. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's like the ups and downs of filmmaking. But then, and the format was virtually extinct. But luckily, there was one or two machines that were still, um, wobbly working, and the oxide is flying off the tape, and they managed to transfer that stuff over for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then when we got the materials, it was like 20 hours or more. And we
Oh,
looked at
gosh.
it. Yeah, and we looked at it and we're like, oh, there's only about 10 or 11 minutes with Black Bear Ranch.
Mm.
So I was a little bummed by that. But then I realized in a 80-minute film where you saw them young, once we identified who was who, that took a little bit of, I mean,
Yeah.
when you watch the film and you put the old next to the new, or the stuff we shot 20 years ago next to the original black and white stuff, it becomes super clear. But it took a
Mm.
while to figure out who was who. And I think that really makes it because you get to see, like when people have 70-year marriages, relationships, or whatever. I think part of it is that they see the person when they were young,
Mm.
no
Yeah.
matter what age they are. So we get to have a whiff of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it adds a lot to the subjects that are in here because I mean, so much is relying on their storytelling of it. And it's almost kind of similar if I talk to my parents or in-laws about that time or that culture, they don't have the the video clips just to pull up today, like in today's time to like show you like what happened. And
Hmm.
I think there's that kind of just I don't know, just that fulfillment of storytelling in there, to and with the photos that you have and the archival footage, I do think I could almost sense like you wanting to show more, but I really thought you did a great job, basically working with what you had as you just mentioned.
Yeah, we lucked out there. I think one of the storytelling aspects of the film that comes up is when you read those stupid, like, not stupid, it's important to read at least one of those how to write a screenplay books,
Hmm.
like Sid Feld and all that. And
Yeah.
it's like you need a main character who wants something kind of badly. Those rules can always be broken. But in this case, we had like seven or more people who all wanted something. But the great thing there was they were all different things.
Yeah, yeah. I was especially moved by the final act, kind of when I would say I don't want to say things kind of start to unravel. I want people to check this out, but just where tensions really start to rise. And so, how important was it to show why things kind of fell apart, and did this shape your view of utopian living?
Well, utopia, the word itself, I think it means the second meaning of it is no place.
Right.
So I think the was it Thomas More, whoever invented it, had a sense, a devilish sense that there really doesn't utopia doesn't exist. Yeah, so what you're talking about is the cult that comes along. This was the first modern film, as far as I know, that deals with cults and communes. And there've been a number of them. So if you've seen any of those films, guys, since then, you owe it to yourself to go back and see this. Now I
Yeah,
know, Nathan, you're based in Oklahoma, is that right?
that's right.
We
Yeah.
don't have a screening in Oklahoma, but hey, come out to California. A bunch of
Yeah.
screenings coming up in September. Ojai is gorgeous, so we're screening there for free.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yeah, yeah, and Bay Area in September. In case people do want to know how to see it, Commune the movie on either communethemovie.com, Commune the movie on Facebook or Instagram should help you, and you can get in touch that way too. So, uh, it was one of the first, probably the first film to deal with those. And since then, there have been a number of issues. A cult did come along and challenge Black Bear, and there is something to that, even though they turned out to be uh, horrible. Uh, Led by a megalomaniac guy who was very smart and well off, and or came from a well off family, so they had that vibe.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they had a point in a way. Like level one is like, yeah, we're going to break from society. And remember, a lot of these people grew up in the 50s. That said, a lot of them, also the ones we focused on, had almost like red diaper baby or similar backgrounds. And that means, you know, they grew up with parents who were pretty committed to progressive causes.
Hmm.
So yeah, the where were we? Sorry.
Oh, no, no, no. Just yeah, we were talking about that the group that the cult that came in and that
Oh, right.
clash. But
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah, so they had a point in a way because, it was like it still was had a lot of whiffs of the culture. But I give the Black Bear people all the credit because they did set this up, Elsa and Richard, and they were, very cool about holding it not too tightly so that, people could achieve their own goals. The
Hmm.
Shiva Leela, which is the group that came along, were trying to take it to the next level. They were, and taking it to the next level, which was like, you guys are all bourgeois. You're just looking for people to babysit your kids while you go out and get high or play music or whatever. And we're doing the real thing. We're taking LSD and treating the children as gods. So I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean, some of that shit is really heartbreaking. And yeah, it tore the place apart. So I mean, story wise, and for Black Bear, it was a big test, and it was as you see in the film, challenge to recuperate from this cult kind of tearing them apart.
Yeah. I thought it was fascinating too, just to see where the Black Bear community, where they are kind of in present day as far as when this film was originally released, but just kind of see like what they were doing in their lives now, kind of going back once again to quote unquote normal society. But I'm sure that transition was not easy for them.
Yeah, good question. I don't think I asked that, how the transition was. I think that a lot of the people had, their what they wanted, like to get back to the screenplay
Hmm.
format stuff. They wanted, like Michael Tira wanted to become an herbalist. So he was experimenting on all the herbs up there, getting some people sick at first. Nobody died, I don't think. But he eventually became a famous herbalist. So he had that experience of, and also learning about the indigenous traditions in the area, which was a big part of the 60s thing as well, just getting back to some of the indigenous traditions around the globe. Some of that got a little bit yucky because appropriation.
Right, right.
But in this case, I mean, it was Haas was a local Kuruk. I think he was all part Kuruk Indian, it's an Indian tribe. And he taught them a lot of stuff about just surviving in the wilderness, not necessarily about Indian stuff, but they did have connections to a lot of people. And people went on to do all sorts of great things. I'm so happy that the people we profiled all went on to do great things or
Hmm.
cool progressive things rather than just sitting on their couch watching TV in their underwear.
No, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not. No.
especially in August.
Yes, yes, especially in August. Um, so it's been 20 years since this film was first released, and 50 plus years since Black Bear was founded. Why do you think the film feels even more timely now?
I think what's happening in Washington with Trump and the authoritarian bent of the current government, which is clear to me, necessitates people looking at some of the breakthroughs that did happen, even though it's easy for someone to say nothing happened out of the 60s, except people, legalize marijuana or something. Uh, I think a lot did happen. You see in the film this like Martine. He was Martin from Brooklyn, becomes Martine. He goes out to Blackberry. He doesn't know. To him, women are like, they're his wife or his mom, and he didn't understand anything about feminism.
Hmm.
To him, he says in the film, it was like a joke to me. What are you talking about? So he really had to like take a hard look at himself. And I think this whole trad wife thing, I don't know, might be fine. I don't know anything about it, but this whole wave of conservatism that's coming over the country, understandably, in my opinion, but it's problematic because we're being led down a path of authoritarianism. So I think beyond politics, let's say, knowing how to do it yourself and live in the woods is something that any political stripe would probably want to master. I,
Yeah,
I know it's very big among preppers and MAGA people and all that.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So
so
I'm hoping to get on like a Ben Shapiro podcast or something like that, someone who's super conservative, just because I think it would be fascinating, first of all, to hear what they say.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'm self-admittedly someone who very much enjoys my AC and not
Oh,
not pulling my food from the ground just from the probably convenience way of things. But I will say, watching this film, I mean, I didn't think watching it, I was like, this really isn't a really crazy idea, just because I think, especially as you mentioned, just in these current times. I mean, I think even with certain elections and stuff, it's almost like you see people saying, "Oh, I'm going to move to this place now," or "I'm going to move to," I really think that people right now are yearning for a new kind of community or something to get out of that rat race, so to speak. And so, I mean, I can really see these subjects and being like, yeah, I understand why why they have made this decision, especially with the things that are most important to them.
there is something about ever since the beginning of civilization in ancient Greece, people were leaving the city and going to the country.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
something about that. And, even like when I want to edit, like when I'm editing my new film, I like to just go away. And
Hmm.
where I am now, in New York, there's events every night. There's this, there's that, there's this dance thing, there's this, and it's great. But it's hard to get work done when you're surrounded by all that. So
Yeah,
for my last film, Calling All Earthlings, which looked at another very different kind of counterculture, UFO culture in the 50s and onward out in the California desert. I just took all the footage and went to an arts retreat in Spain and watched the footage every day.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like no air conditioning though. So when it got too hot and it's blazing down there, you just go down, you take your siesta and you go down to the lake. So
yeah.
hopefully I can do something like that again because otherwise it's like working at home, you can do it, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of temptations like, oh, I think I can make an omelet now. What's in the fridge? Cut to an hour later,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can watch 15 minutes of whatever.
Well, they did a great location scouting because I thought I thought it looked beautiful there. Like now the winter looked harsh, but I was yeah, going up to Oregon was not a bad decision.
It is on the board. It is very near Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Forks of Salmon. Oh, at this point, since we're talking about location, all that, Black Bear Ranch is no longer free land in a way. I mean, it is, but you have to kind of let them know and submit in a little, take you 10 minutes to say if you wanted to go there, if somebody was like, yeah, I want to do that. It's blackbearranch.org. There's a way you can contact them.
Okay.
But I think they could use people who want to help out. Some points there's been only one or two people on the ranch. I'm really not sure where it is now. I filmed primarily with that one group and their children. So there's been many
Mm.
waves of other people.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you mentioned your other film, and I was kind of looking at your biography and the other films you had, and you do seem to gravitate towards subjects that kind of are outliers or kind of on the fringes of society. Is this a common thread that you find in the work that you do, or the subjects that you find interesting?
Hopefully it's somehow a little bit off the grid. Otherwise, you're just watching a film about your neighbor.
Yeah.
Although I guess that's the appeal of all those true crime films.
True, very true. Yeah, I know. It makes you look over your shoulder once or twice. Uh,
I mean,
but
like true crime, like yeah, TV series. Yep, I'm looking at the map here. There, it's Forks of Salmon.
okay,
It's which is the name of the nearest town, and it's kind of east of Klamath, uh, the town of Klamath, south of the Klamath National Forest. I feel like it's pretty close to Oregon, but maybe not as close as I thought. Huh.
oh, there you go.
Oh, there's Ashland. Yeah, Wairika is above Weed. Is that Oregon? Weed is Mount Shasta. That's California. Yeah, Oregon's not far away north.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, so, what have this is a re-release. It's the 20th anniversary. You've watched, you're watching this film back now. What have you learned about yourself as a storyteller? Like, what kind of hits you now revisiting this film?
Well, one thing I was very relieved about is that it still plays. It's still interesting. I
Yeah.
think, at least to me, but I was just judging by audience and stuff. No one was texting. We did a screening the other night. I went to it, and everybody, I'm going to a lot of these screenings we're doing, and everybody stuck around for an hour and just talked.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's a good sign. I'm heartened by that. That's partially because these guys had this wild and great story, and they were open enough and generous enough to share it. So, very grateful for that. But as far as what I've learned, that's a great question because every time you make a film, it's like, oh my God, is it going to work? I don't think I have it. Is this footage interesting? You're falling asleep in front of the editing, your computer, your Mac, whatever. And so it's really filmmaking, documentary filmmaking is finding a good subject and then taking out the boring parts, which is, 80, 90% of what you shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then structuring it, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
I've learned that like I can do it, right?
mhm.
But it's like the new film is about a billionaire who has this crazy project in Southern California. Well, some would say not crazy, right? And it's a gondola that's going to fly like a ski lift from the train station in Los Angeles to the ball field to Dodger Stadium.
Oh,
Sounds cool. It really
yeah.
designed though from the outside looking in, like from people who are not from right there. And so it's flying over the heads of senior centers and Chinatown right by their windows. And it's arguably pretty a lot of evidence points to a gambit to exploit the parking at the stadium, which is not a bad idea. Just be more transparent. Anyway, this is my first like personal ultra political film.
Okay. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
hope I hope it works out. It's like making a new business. Every film is a new business. This is
Yeah.
why Netflix loves and television loves series, right? Because you've
Hmm.
established and sitcoms and dramas and NCIS, whatever that stuff is, because you have the characters. You just need to. You don't have to do all the hard lifting. But for each new documentary, if it's a one-off, feature documentary, you have to kind of re create a new business in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I really I liked this film kind of as a history lesson.
Yeah,
I liked it as just a kind of narrative, just as far as the quote unquote characters, but the real life people in
yeah.
it. But also, I do think this is a good time for this to re-release, just because of the current climate that we live in now, and it really, as you have mentioned, really touches on what's going on right now.
Yeah, and that's, we were just basically upresing it for so it could get on every platform, which eventually it will be, we hope. Um right now it's virtually on none of them because that was the design, and we made it just look better and more modern as far as the technology of the film. But uh in the process of doing that, I was like, let's let's pull it from every streaming source. It was on a bunch of streamers. Now it's not really. Um, but I hope that it finds some inspiration for people. I know a young man came to the screening we did in upstate New York last week, and he's like, "Yeah, this is great. I'm starting a." Now it's called intentional community, Nathan. People
Okay.
wanted to get away from the whole hippie commune thing.
Label, yeah.
Yeah, the whole hippie thing is hilarious in the film when uh Cannoli, who's one of the people at Black Bear, says we would go to other communes and they'd be all like staring into each other's eyes and loving each other and meditating, and we thought they were weird.
No, I get that. Well, I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this film and sharing your insights. And I really hope people seek this out. I know you mentioned it kind of in the middle of the interview, but just before we wrap, can
Yeah.
you let listeners know where they can watch this, but also follow the other work that you're working on?
Okay, yeah. So Commune the movie will take you right to the information and photos and more about this particular film we're talking about. My website is Open Signal Studios, opensignalstudios.com, and that lists more of my projects, more of a roundup
Okay, awesome. And
and the new one.
we'll make sure to put all those links in the notes as well, so people can easily click on that and find it, all the great things that you're working on.
Thanks, Nathan.
All right,
Bye.
thank you.